Today I'm reacting to your SmackDown of the freaking year contender hot takes. Hot Takes is a weekly video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice all of your thoughts, whether they're good thoughts, bad thoughts, or everything in between about the world of professional wrestling. So if you'd like to be featured in the next episode of Hot Takes, make sure that you follow me on X because I ask for your hot take after every episode of Raw, SmackDown, and every WWE Premium Live event. And don't forget, next weekend is Survivor Series, so make sure that you're following me on X to submit your hot takes after that show. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're going to fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And if you're looking for the review of this incredible episode of Friday Night SmackDown, then make sure you head over to patreon.com/SantiZap because the review is already up there with footage so you can see exactly what it is that we're talking about. Over there, you get the Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, the podcast 3 days early, and so many more videos that never get uploaded to YouTube. In fact, I actually upload more videos on Patreon than I do on YouTube, so go check it out. I'll put the link in the description or a link in the pinned comment for you, but let's read your stupid shit. CM Punk joining War Games is perfect. There was a reason why Paul Heyman said that Punk was off limits. Roman respected those wishes, and now Punk is doing him one last favor. This was incredible. So it's no secret that I've been quite critical of the WWE's booking of War Games so far, especially when it comes to the formation of the teams, because at times it's felt rushed and nonsensical. But when it comes to the addition of Punk as the fifth member, this is utterly brilliant. Because it works on so many levels and it helps advance so many different layers of storytelling as well. Number one, it makes Paul Heyman's return significantly more impactful because it marks the return of not just Paul Heyman as a character, but Paul Heyman, the difference maker. Two, it gives Team Roman Reigns a fifth member that actually makes some sense here because he doesn't have any beef with any of the members of Team Roman Reigns, and if anything, he has beef with Solo Sikoa for what he and his bloodline did to one of his admitted best friends, Paul Heyman, back several months when they put him through a table at Madison Square Garden. And three, the cherry on top of all of this, the further advancement of the hatred between Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Because this advances the hatred and the feud between these two without making either one of them be wrong or a heel. Genius. Genuinely genius. I love that we're getting CM Punk at War Games because it's the 1 year anniversary of him returning to the WWE. I just think it's crazy that he's going from a Hell in a Cell match right into War Games. The balls on Punk for real. They should use Jade getting attacked to set up the return of heel Charlotte. I like this, and I can actually see this being a strong possibility because from how brutal the attack on Jade Cargill looked, not only does it likely mean that Jade Cargill is probably going to miss War Games, but it probably opens up her slot in the Women's United States Championship tournament. And what have I always said on this channel? There's three things certain in life: death, taxes, and Charlotte Flair winning championship gold when she comes back from injury. It seems crazy, but I wouldn't put it past WWE to put the inaugural United States Championship on a heel Charlotte Flair because they know that everyone would hate that, which would kind of work alongside what heel Charlotte is probably trying to accomplish. I think the bigger question is, does Charlotte come back and take that spot at War Games, or is it going to be Bayley, or maybe Jade Cargill will still participate at War Games? So there's still quite a few questions up in the air, which is kind of bizarre considering we're like a week away from War Games now. Thank God Cody is free from the Bloodline story, from now at least. Yeah, don't get too comfortable. Cody Rhodes will at some point return to this Bloodline narrative, especially when The Rock comes back. It's gonna be Bloodline rules, Mama Rhodes. You already know all of the different sayings. But it is a breath of fresh air to know that the next thing for Cody Rhodes doesn't have to be the Bloodline in order to keep him interesting because unfortunately, let's face it, the majority of Cody Rhodes' feuds that don't involve the Bloodline so far have felt like filler ever since he won the WWE Championship. But that's not the case here. This feels like a through and through proper made Cody Rhodes feud, and I'm here for it, and it doesn't need the Bloodline. Thank God. Don't get me wrong, the Bloodline is still overlooming as to why this feud even exists because Cody Rhodes teamed up with Roman Reigns in the first place, but it's nice that this doesn't have to involve the Bloodline getting involved in attacking Cody Rhodes for the 18th trillionth time. Roman still still needs to apologize. Yeah, don't let this great SmackDown make you lose sight of the fact that Roman Reigns still has not fucking apologized, and it doesn't seem like he's going to anytime soon. Since 5-man War Games is shoved into us, Punk feels like the perfect choice to be the 5th member over Rollins, since he's the only face with no beef against Roman Reigns, and also because he's a former Paul Heyman guy. Yes, and yes, all of these make sense. I really like the Paul Heyman aspect of all of this more than anything, because I'm very curious, once the smoke settles, where's Paul Heyman's loyalty going to lie? Is it going to lie with Roman Reigns, the guy that left him alone with Solo Sikoa in the first place and didn't return to help him? Or is it going to lie in CM Punk, the guy that stood between Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa? If I'm Paul Heyman, that's an internal debate that actually needs to be had, because I'm kind of leaning towards CM Punk at the moment. Bayley replacing Jade for War Games is a good decision. Not only is she better in ring and a bigger WWE star, but she also brings so much drama to the table. She's on bad terms with both Io and Bianca, and that story will hopefully play out during the match. Look, I don't love the idea of it being Bayley, but I'm willing to explore the idea if they're actually willing to explore interesting storylines and interesting team dynamics between all of the people that hate each other on the babyface side. The fact that Bayley was getting beat up and the first person that came out to make the save was Io Sky is bizarre. That makes no sense at all whatsoever. And if they're already doing bizarre things like that, that kind of tell us that they're not really going to explore the destroyed relationship between Bayley and Io Sky, it doesn't really give me a lot of hopes that they're actually going to give us a deep interwoven narrative that plays out in the cage between Io, Bayley, and Bianca. They seem to be fine with Io saving Bayley and Io and Bianca being buddies and shaking hands, so I don't have a lot of trust that they're actually going to play out that narrative in the match. But if it does play out in the match, it could be majestic, and it could be an easy out to allow the team that's got both women's champions to actually win, considering how absolutely stacked the babyfaces team actually is. This just makes Seth hate CM Punk more and sets up WrestleMania. Yep, and I kind of already alluded to this in one of my previous points, but one of the reasons why this has me even more excited is because it means that neither of them need to turn heel on one another. That's been a big lingering question amongst fans. If we were to get CM Punk versus Seth Rollins in a WrestleMania feud, who would be the heel? And I think the answer is none of them. They can just be baby faces that hate each other and baby faces that have their own fan base that see their individual point of views. So I'm here for it. I was already here for the CM Punk versus Seth Rollins feud, but this is just kindling and fuel to a fire that I think is going to potentially be the most interesting feud going into WrestleMania 41. And that's saying a lot considering how stacked the WrestleMania 41 card is starting to shape out to be. Shinsuke Nakamura should dethrone LA Knight. They have done this character with Nakamura against Seth and Cody. And if Shinsuke loses again, I don't know that he comes back from it. Also, a US title run with Shinsuke would be amazing. I agree with your last bit. I also agree that a US title run could be a lot of fun with Shinsuke Nakamura, especially this evil, like, Sith Lord version of Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm really interested as to what that could develop into. But we've been here before. We've been here before, and our hearts continue to be broken time after time after time, where we think that Shinsuke Nakamura is finally going to get that much deserved push, only for them to rip out our hearts and just have him lose feud after feud after feud. And I really wish that that wasn't the case, but I'm just having a hard time visualizing how it's not going to be the same thing playing out over and over again. Look, we just have more evidence that WWE is willing to sacrifice Shinsuke Nakamura to elevate baby faces. Like you said, they did it with Seth, they did it with Cody, and if there's a baby face that they're probably trying to elevate, it's probably LA Knight. So my gut tells me is that we're going to get hurt again, that Shinsuke is just going to lose match after match to LA Knight. And yeah, this will help elevate LA Knight, but I'm with you. I don't know how Shinsuke recovers if he comes back after a hiatus, reinvents himself only to lose a feud again. So fingers crossed for Shinsuke Nakamura, but I don't see it. I don't see it. I want to, but I don't see it. I've just been burned so many times with this that I don't want to get burned again. Respect Miss Mysterio. I love the beanie. I love the look. I hope she rocks the beanie more. Kevin Owens should take that belt off of Cody. Look, I don't see it happening, but if it were to happen, shit, fellas, I think all of us would agree that that would be a pretty neat surprise. I mean, Kevin Owens winning this WWE Championship would just add such an interesting wrinkle to what we're expecting Cody Rhodes' championship reign to be, which is to hold that championship for over a year, go into WrestleMania, have a feud with The Rock, maybe another feud with Roman Reigns, and then that big feud with Randy Orton. I feel like that's what we're all expecting. But what if in the process of getting to those big feuds, he loses the title in between and has to regain it before he goes off to face The Rock or whatever the hell? It's not an entirely unappealing prospect. I'm kind of digging that idea because this is the best Kevin Owens has been on the main roster, in my opinion. And if there is a version of Kevin Owens that could and should win a big title, it's this one, the one that we're experiencing today. The old bloodline is going to win now. Personally, I would have saved Paul Heyman coming back for Survivor Series, making us think that it would actually be 4v5 until the day of. As long as we get a tsunami off the cage, though, I'm happy. I'm with you with that last bit. Like, if you're gonna have Bronson Reed in there, come on. Like, you can't rob us of a tsunami from the top of the cage. Please make it happen. But I'm not convinced that the original bloodline is going to win, mostly because of the Seth Rollins factor, because I absolutely see Seth Rollins getting involved in this match because he's got three major oppositions in this match, because he's got his beef with Bronson Reed, he's got his beef with Roman Reigns, and he's got his generational beef with CM Punk. So I could see a world where Seth Rollins gets involved, making us think that he's there to help the babyfaces and take out Bronson Reed, only for him to take out both Roman Reigns and CM Punk. That would be crazy. So because of that wild card that is Seth Rollins, I'm not entirely convinced that we can say that the original bloodline is going to win for sure. And let's not forget, The Rock is also an ever-looming presence, although I know that he's filming Moana 2. I'm sure we've all seen the photos of him as Maui, which, okay, that's great. But yeah, there's external factors that lead me to believe that this isn't a foregone conclusion yet. I legit thought Paul Heyman was about to bring out Brock Lesnar. I didn't expect CM Punk. Yeah, there were people in my Twitch chat that were also expecting this, but I didn't think that that would make a heck of a lot of sense, considering part of the story that's being told is that it seems like Roman Reigns doesn't have anyone he hasn't absolutely screwed over, and Brock Lesnar fits the narrative of somebody that Roman Reigns has screwed over. So I don't think that he would have made a tremendous amount of sense. CM Punk is like that blank slate that actually fits nicely in this puzzle piece. Finally, the full family is back together. Bro, the internet is so quick with these. I saw this floating around like 5 minutes after SmackDown ended. But yeah, CM Punk is looking like the real Slim Shady in this one. Kevin Owens brought out one of Cody's best promos in a while. This feud is getting real good. Bro, just the back and forth promo between Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes was legitimately fantastic. I called this one of the best promo segments of the entire year. It just goes to show how professional they are at their job, because they made it seem like they genuinely hated each other to the point where I'm surprised that no one let an F-bomb slip out. This was the most believable Cody Rhodes that I've heard in a really long time as well, because Cody Rhodes has this cadence sometimes to his promos that just make it seem just so political and rehearsed. But this, he did away with that typical Cody Rhodes babyface cadence, and he just was laying into Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens was laying into Cody Rhodes. It was genuinely fantastic.
There you go.
Oh my God!
You see what I mean?
That was a sneak peek of this week's Wrestling is Cool Match Club, which is exclusively available on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week, we're looking at the tag team classic that is DIY versus The Revival in a best 2 out of 3 falls at NXT TakeOver Toronto. We have a hardcore match between Shane McMahon and Steve Blackman at SummerSlam 2000. We've got real graps this week in the classic match between Bret Hart and Owen Hart at WrestleMania 10. We have a ridiculous match between Sabu and Rob Van Dam in a ladder match. And we're looking at Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul at WrestleMania 39. You're gonna get this and so much more, like the Wrestling is Cool podcast 3 days early, the Raw reviews, the SmackDown reviews, the currently ongoing Undertaker Streak watch along, the currently ongoing Royal Rumble watch along, and more. So if you're doing the math, I actually upload more on Patreon than I do on YouTube, and those are videos that will never appear on YouTube. So go check it out. It's patreon.com/SantiZap. I'm confident that if you even try for 1 month, that you're absolutely going to fall in love with it. There's hundreds of videos already up and available for you to enjoy day one. So go check it out. The link will be in the description. The link will likely also be in the pinned comment, but that's it, folks. Let's get back to the video. Chelsea Green won tonight after a fantastic triple threat match, and best of all, she wrestled, and she wrestled well. We all know how good she is, and the crowd knew too. My heart is full. Hey, I know that Bianca Belair was distracted and she left the match, but technically, this was a clean victory for Chelsea Green. She didn't cheat, but I think that this was a smart way to showcase everybody because this meant that Chelsea Green won, which is what a lot of people wanted. It allowed Bianca Belair to be protected and allowed the WWE to develop a future storyline between Bianca, Jade Cargill, and whoever the mystery attacker is. And let's also face it, this was a nice little showcase of Blair Davenport, somebody that we've barely seen ever since she got called up from NXT. So it was a win all around. But the real winners were the fans. We wanted Chelsea Green, and we got Chelsea Green, baby. And she even pulled out a Rough Rider. Shout out to Matt Cardona and the Indies, the Indie Taker. They shouldn't break up DIY. Johnny and Champa work so well together. They have so much good chemistry. See, I'm actually not convinced that they're gonna break up DIY. I wouldn't be surprised if when the smoke settles that they've both turned heel, because it kind of reminds me at the very least a tiny little bit of what Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae did, and how one of them was turning heel and the other one was trying to stop the other one from doing all the heelish dastardly things. But ultimately, it resulted in both of them turning heel. I could see that happening in DIY. So I don't think that we're getting Johnny Gargano versus Tomaso Ciampa yet. I don't think that we're getting the breakup of DIY, but this could be the catalyst for the DIY heel turn, especially because they have Johnny Gargano being such buddies with the Motor City Machine Guns. And I think they're just buttering us up for a really, really emotional heel turn eventually when Johnny Gargano stabs the Motor City Machine Guns in the back and aligns himself with his real buddy in Tomaso Ciampa. So don't worry, I don't think the breakup is happening. Somehow the Bloodline don't have the most over storyline right now. That goes to Cody and Kevin Owens. I mean, it's just crazy that we have two great storylines going on right now, but my question is, what are we doing here? Is this a Survivor Series match, or is this going to Saturday night's main event? Because they name drop both of them as a place where we could get this match. And we don't have a heck of a lot of time between now and War Games. I don't know when you can properly announce this if you are doing this at War Games. I guess you could do it on the SmackDown the night before War Games, but that's pre-tape. Not only is it pre-tape, but that would also only give us 1 day to get hyped for this championship match. I think it will likely get moved to Saturday night's main event to really give this proper time to fully fledge out as a match. I'm loving the US title reign for the constant battles, but I really hope that Shinsuke Nakamura gets the title at least once during the feud and we get back and forth titles for once. I'm also digging that LA Knight is just seemingly defending this United States Championship every week. That's such a nice change of pace compared to what we dealt with for the majority of the last year with Logan Paul as the champion. I'm also open and interested in the idea of some back and forth hot potato of the United States Championship, and I don't think that that would hurt the prestige of the championship, considering we literally just did it for the Intercontinental Championship a couple of weeks ago on Monday Night Raw, and I don't think that that really damaged the reputation of the IC title at all. So we can do this. And I think in the process, you salvage the reputation of Shinsuke Nakamura if you actually give him a big victory here. If they are potentially writing Jade out for next week, I feel like the mystery opponent is Charlotte Flair, and she's gonna come back and it will be Bayley versus Charlotte for the United States Women's title. Good God, if the final really was Bayley versus Charlotte Flair, the internet would go absolutely bananas and angry. The place would burn down. The internet already seems to have turned on Bayley, and the internet already hated Charlotte Flair to begin with. And this would also mean not having Michin or Chelsea Green, which are the two darlings that the internet wants. Oh man, that would create some chaos. But I guess the positive of doing Bayley versus Charlotte is that it's two established main eventer Hall of Fame caliber women going after the mid-card title, which would certainly help with the legitimacy of the mid-card title, but I still hate it. I love that both babyface teams for War Games are full of uneasy alliances and baggage. Both matches feel unpredictable, and there are tons of intriguing possibilities for storylines after Survivor Series. You know what? I appreciate how you're looking at this situation. I have to admit, I've been really negative. I've been a huge negative Nancy, especially about the women's War Games buildup, that it's not made the buildup fun. So I'm going to throw that negativity out the window. I'm going to jump in on what you're saying here and just hope that these weird ass rush tag teams that make no sense on paper will lead to some interesting back and forth and development into potential WrestleMania feuds. So I'm going to be optimistic with you. Thank you for making me see this. Plot twist, he beats a distracted Cody out of nowhere and wins the championship. Bring back out of nowhere wins. Dear God, no, this can't happen. Especially when you're building up to a match between the biggest face in the company and one of the biggest heels in the company in Kevin Owens. You can't have Cody Rhodes just eat a random loss. Especially not losing the championship. Look, I love Carmelo Hayes, but not this much. Triple H just set this up perfectly. Never doubt, bro. Yes, this does set it up perfectly, and this does continue to build the notion of let Triple H cook. However, I still firmly believe that you can criticize Triple H for his booking at times. I understand that he lands the plane more often than not, but sometimes he just doesn't. And too many times, people protect Triple H's bad booking, like Austin Theory's apparent never-ending babyface turn, and just mask it by saying, let bro cook, when sometimes it's just not very good. Yes, let Triple H cook, but also criticize Triple H when he should be criticized. Ladies and gentlemen, I would love if Chelsea Green won their match, even with Bianca not leaving. I'm not telling you that Chelsea needed to pin her, but I think that this could have made Chelsea a bit stronger and set her as the contender for the championship. I get where you're coming from because, yes, obviously, had she won and Bianca Belair been there, it would have been a much bigger, more impactful victory for Chelsea Green. However, I feel like the way that WWE played this off was perfectly fine, and this still absolutely made Chelsea Green into a very strong contender because she won clean, which is not something that she does regularly. Punk going from Hell in a Cell with Drew to now joining OG Bloodline in a War Games match is insane. Can't wait. It is insane considering one of the nicknames that the internet has for CM Punk is Fragile Phil. Fragile no more, folks. Yeah, it is kind of crazy to go from one hellish match to another, but at the very least, this is a situation where Punk doesn't have to be in there for 40, 50 minutes at a time because of how War Games works. I wouldn't be surprised if CM Punk is the last member of Team Roman Reigns to come in to make sure that CM Punk has to spend the least amount of time in a match like War Games, coming off the back of an already hellish match of the year contender in his Hell in a Cell match against Drew McIntyre. Cody is the real Homelander. He won't admit that Kevin is right. He just pushed Melo for no reason, and his telling the GM to reevaluate his decisions. It's only a matter of time for people to see it. Look, I am absolutely in the camp that believes that Kevin Owens is in the right and that Cody is the big part of the problem of everything that's going on. I do appreciate that this feud with Kevin Owens is bringing out a more violent and ruthless version of Cody Rhodes that we've yet to see, so that's a plus. But I don't think that we're getting the Cody lander that so many people want. I don't think that Cody Rhodes ever turns heel. LA Knight adding that out of nowhere element to the BFT has made the move and the end of his matches much more exciting. Yes, I 100% agree. That BFT and how it came out of nowhere to Santos Escobar during their match was perfect. The BFT is a finisher that's gotten a lot of criticism from fans, so I appreciate that LA Knight, I don't know if he's taken the criticism to heart, but at the very least has made the move more interesting, and now I'm seeing a lot less criticism towards the BFT. Adding the out of nowhere element to the move absolutely elevates it. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching this episode of Hot Takes. I appreciate you submitting them. What an episode of SmackDown that was, but that's it, folks. I'm done. Get out of here.